guys, so let's talk about what happened to my peace lily. I recently did a care guide video on my fern and what I did to make it thrive, etc. And at the end of that video, there was this clip. I will probably do some more care videos in the future. I have one planned, I believe, about my peace lily up there because a lot of people for some reason struggle with peace lilies, even though I think they're super easy plants. So right after I said that, literally like I think later that day, I noticed my peace lily was really droopy. And they do that. This is not unusual for peace lilies. They tend to droop and be super dramatic, and it looks like they might be dying, but all they need is to be watered. This was not the case, however, because when I checked the soil was very damp. Like, it was definitely nowhere near needing water. So I got a little bit concerned. Initially I thought maybe it had outgrown its pot because it was in a larger pot that I had repotted it into a while ago from its original pot that I got it in, and I just thought that it had outgrown it and it maybe was super root bound already and it just was in a desperate need of repotting. And now there's a plane. So when I checked in on its roots, I had discovered that actually it was the opposite. It had lost a lot of its initial roots and it didn't actually look like root rot, which was really weird, and I still don't know what happened to this day because it didn't look like the roots were rotted, because I believe that I had somehow overwatered this peace lily even with the copious amounts of water that it consumes. I don't know how I did this, but that's my only reasonable explanation as to what I did wrong. So what had happened is the roots had died off and they were slowly dying off. They were not rotting, but they were dying off, and the pot was way too large. The soil at the bottom was staying wet for a really long amount of time. While peace lilies like being moist, no plant appreciates staying wet for a really long time. So that's what had happened. So in a desperate attempt to save it, I repotted it into a much smaller pot than it was originally. Originally it was like at least double this. Like, it was a large pot because when I got it, it outgrew its initial pot very quickly and it needed a large pot for all its roots. So I placed it into, it's not exactly small, but it's a lot smaller terracotta pot. I kind of left it alone a little bit. It originally was on top of my wardrobe over there. So what I thought might also be the problem is that it was not getting enough light, even though these are very shade tolerant plants and they do quite well in low light. I thought maybe it was not getting enough heat or light or a combination of both up there, especially with the change of season because it has gotten a lot colder now. So I also took this to my kitchen where it gets a lot more light and it's a lot warmer as well than my room. And honestly, it only seemed to be getting worse. And I had actually started to prepare myself for the possibility that this guy was just going to die and I'm going to have to throw it away. But until it was completely dead, I was not going to give up on it. And I asked some advice in a houseplant Discord group, and someone said that I seem to have done everything right. Like, I repotted it to a smaller pot, made sure that it has the right size for it, that it's not overwhelmed, and that I should just give it some time and see if it recovers. Honestly, it got worse before it got better, and at one point it looked like this. Like, at that point I was like, there is no way this plant is going to recover. All its leaves are super droopy. It's really bad. It also has this bloom. I was considering whether or not to cut it off because plants actually use a lot of energy to bloom. So I was thinking of cutting it off, which I probably should have done, but I was just so sad. Like, it was this one bloom which has been pushing out for quite a while, so I didn't want to cut it off, and I didn't, and it's alright. I cut off some of the leaves that were super droopy because I knew that there was no way the root system could sustain all of the leaves, so I had to cut it back a little bit. But you can see that, like, it's not a lot of loss because most of them survive. I literally cut off like maybe 5 leaves, and it has a lot of them and it's quite large. I'm very proud of this guy. So spoiler alert, it survived and it's doing okay. It's still recovering a little bit. Some of the leaves are still a little bit droopy. Like, for example, here I can tell that like they're hardened off and like they're stable and they're recovering. Here they're still a little bit floppy, but it's still recovering, and it also needs to be watered, so that's also a factor. But the thing is, in this time, because I had overwatered it, I was actually quite unsure how to go about watering, because this plant still does need water, but it had been kind of traumatized by overwatering that I didn't want to do it again. So I put it in a terracotta pot. That also helped it a little bit. I'm very glad this survived, but I don't know what I did wrong. Like, okay, I know that I said that I definitely overwatered it somehow, but I don't know how I did that, because I only water my peace lily when it is actually actively drooping and showing that it needs water, because that's honestly the best way to water these guys. So that's a care tip for you if you're interested in how to not kill your peace lilies. But somehow it still happened. I'm guessing that it was just not drying out fast enough between waterings, and yeah, like, I'm guessing that spot is not the best for it. I have moved it since. I usually keep it next to my begonias. It's definitely one of the darker spots in my room, but it gets more light and more warmth than up there. That's this guy. This is not a long video. I just wanted to tell you guys because I had mentioned it before in my videos. For those of you who care, maybe you don't. That's my peace lily. I'm very proud that it has recovered and it's gonna be fine and I don't have to throw it out. Long story short, I had overwatered it. It had lost all of its roots. It was in too big of a pot. It was drowning a little bit. I repotted it into a smaller terracotta pot and sort of left it alone a little bit, gave it a slightly more warmth and light. Not too much, because that would completely shock it. First dying off, then being repotted, then putting it into direct light and warmth. That's way too much change for a plant, by the way. Don't shock your plants like that. Anything can be like a shock and can really have a big impact on your plants, so change small things at a time unless it's like really drastic. That's what I did, and it survived, and now it's doing good and it's doing better, and yeah, I'm very happy that it survived. Maybe in the future I will do an actual care guide on these, because I to this day think these are super easy plants. It was just a very unfortunate timing of this plant deciding that it's not happy. Yeah, literally, this is the first time I have ever had any problems with peace lilies. I've had several peace lilies. I had a couple in my other apartment. Only reason they died was because I was not there for 2 months to water them. These are definitely not something that you can leave alone. I think peace lilies are a good option for plant parents who really like to water your plants and like take care of them and stuff, because while this doesn't need too much care, it will let you know when you have to water them. If you miss watering and they start to look droopy, they can get droopy to a point where they look dead. I left for a weekend once. It was an extra sunny weekend and I had left my peace lily in too much warmth and light, and I came back to it. I thought it had died. I legitimately thought this peace lily was dead, but I watered it because I thought, okay, well, there's no harm if it's dead. Like, if it's dead, it's dead. If it's not, then great. So I watered it, and literally like 5 hours later it was like back up to its perky, beautiful self. So peace lilies are quite resilient in that sense. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. This is just like a short update on what went on with my peace lily and some updates and what it looked like in between, and a reminder to not give up on your plants, because even if they might be looking, I swear to God, if another fucking car goes by while I'm filming this video, I've literally like 2 minutes left to film and there's like a billion cars going past. Like, can you chill out? Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Yeah, that totally made me lose my train of thought. Ask other people. Ask other people what they think could help your plant, because there are a lot of people who are probably more knowledgeable than you. I'm not an expert in any means, but I can give some advice to somebody else and somebody else can give advice to me. This is why I mentioned a Discord group for plants, for houseplants, and I will leave the link to join it down below because it's a very fun. There are some plant memes, some if you want to ID a plant, if you don't know what it is, if your plant is dying. You can ask opinions on if it's not looking good, what other people might have a diagnosis for it, what you should do. And I found it very nice, and it's a nice community as well, so if you're interested I will put that in the description down below. But other than that, I don't really have much more to say. This is my peace lily, it's doing good. Oh, and before I go, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. A lot of people watch my videos who are not subscribed. I don't have a lot of subscribers, I need more subscribers. Leave a comment down below, Tell me what you think about anything, even just comment plant. That helps me, it helps my analytics, it helps my YouTube channel in the algorithm of the YouTubes. Yeah, that's it, that's the video.